Hi everyone, welcome to Our Focus is You. My name is Tina Paulus Kraus, and with me
I'm Ken Collins. Welcome back, and we're back in the studio for the
we are
first
back
time
in the
a
studio.
while.
We've done a couple of on locations, which are super fun.
Yes.
Yeah, but back in the studio, we get to talk a little bit more one-on-one and talk about some really deep stuff, which is really cool. And today we're going to talk about coaching and kind of what's going on in the professional coaching industry and how coaching has kind of really become kind of a popular thing. It's kind of like a lot of people have coaches these days. And so we're going to kind of dissect that a little bit and talk about that.
Yeah, it's really become popular in the last 10 years, and not, everyone, when you think about coaching, you think, oh, maybe high school or even younger than that, and it's sports or instruments or. But it's pretty prevalent not only with kids, but with adults, and it's moving into the business world. And so I think there's a lot of perceptions, like most things, and it's worthy of our time today to maybe clear some of those things up and help our viewers with a better understanding of how it could bring value to them.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people maybe haven't really, some may not know exactly what coaching is. So let's talk about that first. Like, what is coaching?
Yeah, I think coaching is, I think first, so before we go to coaching, I think what people think of when they think of personal development, especially some of the things we just mentioned, is that there's several methods of personal development. There's training,
Right.
there's mentoring, and then there's coaching. Counseling I'm not going to put in there, but people view coaching maybe as counseling, so it probably is fair to talk about that. But I think before we go to coaching, let me just quickly summarize the differences there. So training is sharing of content. So I'm going to take a course or a class online. I'm going to read a book. Right. Yeah, I'm going to go to a seminar. It's sharing and presenting of content, not application, but the learning stages of that.
Right.
And then there's mentoring, and this is where even myself for years I was confused. So when I thought I was coaching, I was actually mentoring, and mentoring is sharing of experiences. Here's what I've experienced, and then here's the things that were very helpful to me, and then here's the potholes to stay out of, kind of thing. Wisdom sharing.
Right.
Yeah, where coaching is very different than the two. So coaching is really about asking questions and creating self-awareness. And so it's a very disciplined approach because training and mentoring is very direct. I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to point you in a direction on what you should know, learn, and do.
And it's very prepared.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So coaching is very different that way. For coaching to be very effective too, it's got to be the client's agenda. Because a big part of creating self-awareness through questions is that you pick the topics you want to spend some time on and improve on or do better at or what have you. Meaning now you take ownership of it.
Right. And
questions then aren't directive, but through questions then and the aha moments, you're empowered then too. Yeah, you're going through a process of self-discovery. So I've mentioned this, I think, on past shows too. What's really happening in the coaching practice is when we leave the driveway in the morning to drive to work or a destination that's familiar with us, we get there, and very often we don't remember everything, not even half of it, maybe not even 3/4. How did we get here?
Right.
And so coaching is asking the questions about what happened along that drive to create awareness. And through that awareness, the ahas kick in, and you start to see things a little clearer that were maybe in the blind spots of your journey.
Right.
And now they begin to surface. Now you start to get to the meat of things.
Right. You've said something in the past, too, that really resonated with me. Coaching is about forward. It's about looking forward, not looking backwards. So will you talk a little bit about what that means and what the difference between some of those other forms of kind of training and mentoring and that kind of thing, how are those different from coaching and being forward?
Yeah, so we'll always have to be a continual student because the rate of change in the world is not slowing down. It's getting faster, so we're going to have to continue to learn and be trained. As we get a little older and build wisdom, that's part of our role. in developing the next generations or next people up in our business or people within our families. And that is, nope, we care about you, so we want to share what's worked for us in the past and what hasn't worked so well. Now, coaching is very forward-looking. It's, okay, so what is the topic? If that's what you want to improve on, how do we get there? What would you like to see as the final outcome when we're done here? Right. Through that, there's some goal setting, and then questioning. And then once the questioning raises more awareness, there's now, okay, so what kind of outcomes? What are your choices?
Mm-hmm. Right, so I'm going to ask you a little bit of a leading question here.
Yeah.
So how do I know if I need coaching?
Yeah, I think that comes into three parts. It is outcomes. Mm-hmm. If you're disappointed in outcomes, status quo, kind of stuck in a rut, and things just aren't moving forward, and maybe we get caught into, what did Einstein tell us? The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, but expecting different results.
Right.
So a fresh pair of eyes could be a coach if outcomes we're kind of stuck.
Right.
Then the second part is underachieving. Well, wait a minute, I'm doing all the things I think I'm supposed to do, and I'm not getting the results that I had hoped. I'm not maximizing the results what I had hoped. Right. And so there's this underachieving part. And I think through the coaching process, that part, if you're looking, is to maximize your potential or growth. Right. Where again, effort doesn't equal results, and maybe you're just not going in a direction through self-awareness that you're supposed to be on the path.
Sure.
And then lastly, coaching, accountability. And so when I hear accountability partner, I think of the fitness industry and fitness coaches. Nope, I know what I want to do. I know what the outcomes are 6 months from now. I need the training. What kind of program do I need? But then I need the coaching.
The accountability.
Yeah, the accountability piece of, okay, now that we did this today, when are we coming back again? Right. And let's take a look at your goals and how we're progressing. Mm-hmm. And so all of us, I think, need an accountability piece in some form or fashion. I even have coaches. I'm in the coaching business, but I have coaches.
Absolutely.
And so they hold me accountable all the time for things. And then you know what? Amazingly, things start to happen for you when you know that someone's going to ask, how are you doing there?
Right. Yeah, I think what's been interesting for me in kind of my past and how I've come through the last couple of years is that for forever I've always had some kind of a mentor, right? And then eventually you start being the mentee, or you're a mentee, and then you eventually start being a mentor. So you've got mentors and you've got mentees, and I kind of always thought that was coaching, and then I hired a coach, right? So when you start to see the difference of that, of just telling stories, and now, nope, this coach is going to hold me accountable for what I say that I really want to do, it really does kind of change the dynamic of that relationship, and it changes the mindset of the person that has that coach. So there's probably a ton of coaches out there, right? How do I know what the right coach for me is?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, and I'll hitchhike off some of the comments you just made too, Tina. So I think, so for me, I think because the industry is growing like crazy and a lot of people are putting their hats in the ring, I think you should first look for someone that can demonstrate some credentials or professionalism. Mm-hmm. Right. Secondly, I think this coaching is very vulnerable and becomes a pretty strong relationship piece. So any relationship, the foundation has to be trust. Right. And so you have to get comfortable with a person, and that person has to have the ability to gain your trust quickly. Mm-hmm. And when I look at the coaching profession, you go, okay, how am I going to gauge if I trust someone? That is not simple to do. I think there's a couple key indicators in that. First of all, in the coaching environment, it is all about you or the client. If a coach comes across very directive in nature with training and mentoring, and that you need me and you need to be interdependent with me, mm-hmm. I would question the level of trust there. They have to have their best interest in you, right. And in order for you to take ownership and feel empowered and have something sustainable, this has to be about you as well.
Right.
And you and I both do coaching, and so I think you
absolutely.
understand what I'm saying
You
there.
bet.
Yeah. And then what's kind of interesting too, I think another key for how do I find the right coach is someone with diversity. So coaching the process may start on a particular topic or subject. But it's not uncommon for it to drift. So I think good coaches also have a diverse view of the world. They're very informed.
Right.
Because things can move personally, they can move professionally. I'll tell you this though, Tina, they should not move to what I mentioned earlier, and that is counseling.
Right. Two totally separate things.
Very, very different. And for our viewers out there, I think, when I first heard about coaching, oh no, that's counseling. Nope, I'm not going to go there. I don't need that.
Right.
And all that. No, counseling is working on things that have happened in the past.
That's what it was. So counseling is the past, and then the coaching is
Yes.
the future. That's how you've said that before. Yeah.
Yep. And so a very good coach is very aware of that. And it's not uncommon for it to broach towards that way, especially when the relationship of trust deepens.
Right.
And then a good coach says, well, hold on there a minute. I got to let you know that's moving towards counseling. Or like for mentoring, you know what, I'm going to take a pause here and ask for your permission. I have really some strong viewpoints here, but it's going to move to mentoring. Do you mind if I share?
Right.
But
So
only
just being
on
open
permission.
And, yeah, right.
Yep.
And just being very respectful of that relationship and very communicative about what we're trying to accomplish during the time that you're together.
Yeah, and the boundary should be, this is about you and tomorrow.
Right. Right. That's tough for some people,
Yes.
right? It's tough to delineate the difference
Yeah.
between those two. You talk about diversity as one of those three things, and I think what's interesting about that is that when you do start a coaching relationship, yes, it might be about a specific goal, but what's important for that coach is to understand that you're in growth mode. And so as you grow and as you kind of conquer some of those things that you're really trying to work on and accomplish some of those things in the coaching that you're trying to accomplish, new things come up and you want to grow differently and you want to grow more. So that was one of the reasons why it's important to have somebody that really understands that and understands that one or two coaching sessions isn't going to get you where you need to be. This has to be a relationship that lasts probably, several months in order to get those habits in place and so that you're executing on those habits and they become part of your actual lifestyle. Yeah.
And I think then to add put a period on the end of all of this, there's one more piece I think we should talk about too on how do I select a coach. So in the end, you have to have the feeling that the coach has your best interest in mind. And so when you're looking to select a coach, I would be very careful not to select a pretender, but select a producer. Because when I mentioned diversity, what you want to know is what has the coach done recently? And how successful are they at some of the things they do personally and professionally?
Right.
And is it outwardly focused or inwardly focused? Otherwise, you might catch yourself with a pretender, and I think you know what I mean.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's so if you link all of these together, professionalism, trust, diversity, producer, best interest in mind, I think you'll make a nice selection. And when you make a nice selection, coaching can be very effective.
Oh, absolutely. It can make or break, right? I mean, it makes the total difference. I've in my new coaching relationships that I've had, I mean, it's been the difference of honestly, life is busy, right? So we go, go. And when there's somebody else there helping you to stay accountable for what you're trying to do, you make decisions a little bit differently because you have that accountability partner. And you know that based on that relationship, they're going to hold you. I mean, a good coach is going to hold you accountable for what you say that you're going to do. So let's talk a little bit about what happens during the coaching process. What does it look like? What do people do during that process? And all that good stuff.
Yeah, so typically, and I think I'm pretty close to kind of standard out there, although unique in my approach. Typically, they're about an hour session. And sometimes they're a couple times a week, or at least once a week. I think the key to coaching is repetition, because a lot of times you're talking about behavioral change.
Sure.
So that only comes with repetitions and the follow-up accountability there. So typically about an hour. Typically, I ask clients before they start, what are 4 primary focus topics that they would like to talk about in the sessions over the duration. And when I say duration too, I should add that I think for coaching to be effective, it should be about 3 months at a minimum.
I totally agree.
Again, back to this behavioral change. It's not easy for people to do.
Right.
And so, yeah, during the course of that, what would you like to accomplish? What is the vision after 3 months? What would you like to see it at? And so that gets people pretty juiced and fired up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now let's go on this journey.
Right.
And so it's your agenda. Then there's what does it look like today? So we have what we want it to look like, but what does it look like today?
Right.
So we kind of put these benchmarks out there. And the sessions then are, well, what are the ways forward? And it's through questioning.
Sure.
So how are you feeling? Yeah, it's through questioning that, and the answers that all of a sudden, a series of questions and answer, all of a sudden there's oh, wait a minute here, I think we're hitting on something. And it's not the coach who's saying, wait a minute here.
Right.
Yeah.
I just have to share this example. So I spoke at a retreat for a friend of mine in St. Joseph, Missouri last weekend, right? And we were eating lunch, and there was several people, everybody's at the table, and one of the attendees asked a question to the gal who was putting on the retreat, and she asked her, do you mind if I coach you right now? And I thought that was amazing because A, we were in front of a bunch of people, and B, she asked that permission. And then she went down the line of questioning and asked 2 or 3 questions, and we were all just watching this kind of happen in front of us. And through the specific questions that she asked, she really got this woman who was really stuck in a spot in her mind. All of a sudden she went, oh, okay, I guess that's not really an issue, right? So I think a lot of the times we create stories, we create that in our head. And what a coach can do is really help you very objectively kind of break that down to find what the truth is, right? Because we tell stories in our head that aren't always truth. And so it was just amazing to watch that because it was like you were seeing it happen in motion, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, in order for that to flush out, and so our viewers will know if they're in an effective coaching session, in order for that to flush out, 3/4 of that hour should be the client talking.
Absolutely.
A quarter of it should be the questions. If it's reversed, you're getting trained and mentored or a sermon, and it's not in your best interest, and you're not allowed ownership or being empowered to take.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I will say though that when I didn't understand that point, and I would be in sessions, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the difference between mentoring and coaching. And so when I got into the coaching and I was getting asked all those questions, I was almost like a little annoyed, right? Like I'm here for help. No, the coach is there to help you, right? You still have to, you got to do it on your own. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't sustain.
Exactly.
So I don't know how many times in a coaching session when a person looks pretty perplexed or or a little impatient, just tell me.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you things to think about, which is the questions. Yep. Because if I tell you what to do, it's because Ken said.
Yeah.
If through questions you arrive at it, it's because it's something you discovered and now you want to act on it. That's the power of sustaining afterwards.
Right.
And independence. So coaching isn't, oh no, you need me for 3 years. Coaching is, oh no, I'm going to get you a boost and get you started here.
Yep.
And then my goal is for you to not need me.
Right, right. The goal is to have them not eat. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think part of it too is probably what you said in the very beginning of the episode. Life is busy. We are so busy today just in life, and it's this rat race, and you go, 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 go. And we don't always take time to stop and pause and plan and figure out what we want for the future. And a coach can help you work through that. If for no other reason, it's a dedicated hour of time that you can get away from the rat race to just solely talk about where you want to go in the future.
Yeah, so on that point, that's not uncommon to get involved in coaching. Some piece of it is this busyness of life. I was at a workshop 2 days ago on productivity, all-day workshop, and I wanted to warm up the room in the morning, so I wanted everyone to go around, announce their name, and then tell me how things were going in their professional life, personal life, and their businesses.
Right.
And there's about 22 people in this workshop. And every time I heard the word busy, I walked to the dry erase board and made a mark.
Right.
17 marks out of 22. I think in the U.S. it's a badge of honor when someone asks how you're doing to say in some form or fashion you're busy.
It's true. It's a true story.
So I went to each one of them and I said, we're going to go back around at the end of the day, but I want to ask you if you're productive. I want to hear the B word.
Right.
And you know what? A lot of people reflected on that.
You got to own what you own.
So the reason I mentioned that, it was a question I asked at the end of the day that allowed them to become more self-aware.
Right, because sometimes we're really, really good at blaming it on everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's everybody else's fault. Oh, everybody wants me to do this and that. Well, you choose. Like, we all have 24 hours in the day, and we all choose exactly how we spend every single second of that time. And we don't have to say yes to everything. That was a huge lesson for me, and it's one I'm still probably working on. But you don't have to say yes to everything. What are your priorities?
Yeah, I'm holding
You
back
are. You're like
laughing.
super laughing about this.
Because I laugh about this all the time. In order for you to maximize coaching sessions, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. Because, and the reason I'm smiling, because I hate this too when I'm coached, the answer always.
It's always you.
Here it comes in the mirror.
The answer is always in the mirror. And you don't always like what that answer is, right?
No.
Very rarely, probably, do we like what that answer is. But we've talked about mirror work so much through this, and I talk about it a lot in my seminars and stuff like that. But you got to be honest with yourself about what's really going on. And until you do that, your life will probably continue to spin, right?
Oh, and you could tell. You could tell by demeanor really quickly when that mirror starts to come if someone's comfortable in their skin or not. You know, look at you and I are talking and laughing and just, oh yeah, that's us. And
Right.
but you also want it to come to the surface because you know it's going to help. Yeah.
Right. So it's a leading question. What stops it from coming to the surface? And I've dealt a lot with this in the last couple of months. It's ego, right? It's ego that sometimes prevents us from really looking in the mirror and seeing what we need to see. And so through that reflection and through even a coaching session and those kinds of things, that, you know, the buck stops here. Let's look in the mirror and let's really find out what you're accountable for. And so I think that if people are interested in coaching, you really have to be ready to own what you own and be willing to make changes based on that.
Yeah, Tina, and that's a fine balance because in order to be successful in anything, you got to have ego.
It's absolutely. You're right. Yeah.
But at the same time, ego can be your limiter.
Yep.
You know, if you're humble, ego holds you back. If you're not secure with yourself, you tell anyone or mention to anyone who's successful that they got a big ego. That's like a rope to bring them back down.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, ego can put a cap on you, but you need ego in
Right.
order to move forward.
Right. And ego, understanding what your flaws are and what you own, is that balance that you need to get at, right? It's not an easy place to get.
I keep wanting to say ego. Remember the commercials, Lego my ego?
Yeah, right.
We're on ego. Sorry, I always drift.
Yeah, that's fine. So when we talk about the coaching process and kind of what, you know, you've just kind of gotten done talking about the coaching process and what's all involved in it, and it, you know, 3 months at a minimum, what are some of the things that you've seen in your experience with some of your coaching clients that, you know, if after 3 months, are they done? Do they come back later? Is it all over the board? Just to kind of give people an idea of, you know, how long does this whole process take?
Yeah, so it's a mixed bag. It's all over the board. If God made us to be robots, I could say, oh no, it takes 3 months, and
Right.
yeah. And the reason for that is, and as a coach, you have to be a very good facilitator too, every hour.
Yeah.
Because what can happen through this awareness, through questioning and that drive from home to work, is that other things surface. But based on the person's primary focus, you want to calibrate that back in. Or you're going to have coaching sessions that are just all over the place, don't link in a line, and there's no forward movement. So the answer to your question is, after 3 months, what happens if other things become aware? It's not uncommon to go down the next vein to be tapped,
Right.
so to speak, especially, Tina, if a deep level of trust has been established. When you have that relationship there, usually more than one or two veins start to pop.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Because your growth, right? You're seeing
Yeah.
that growth.
Oh, yeah.
And you're starting to realize those kinds of things. I think for me, what happened was, for me, I had to get I'm going to say a word that I'm not supposed to say. I had to get the bad thoughts out of them. I was going to say itty bitty committee. But I think for me, once I got that kind of straightened out, then I was like, oh, cool, I can overcome that. What's next? So that's another thing that happens in coaching a lot too, is that you'll have people that'll come to you for one specific thing, but then as that relationship grows and as that relationship develops, they get really excited because they start seeing some of the results and they start seeing the success that's happening in their life and all of that, and so they want more and they want to, it just kind of grows and develops from there. And then for me, and I think it's the same thing for you, all of a sudden you go, oh, I want to do this every day of my life because this has had such a major impact. And so it's just really cool to kind of see when you open up and you go, okay, it doesn't mean that I'm bad that I want to coach. It doesn't mean that, I think a lot of the times that kind of stops people too. But when you open up to that and just allow it to happen, amazing things can happen.
Yeah, when you're in a coaching session or partnership, you know you have a really good, genuine one if the coach is just as excited or more excited than you are about the progress. Because as you said, oh no, this is my calling. I want to inspire. I want to help people.
There's nothing better than being with either one person or with a group of people and just seeing those light bulbs go on. And just when that light bulb goes on, it's like a lifeline for them, right? They get it and they go, oh my gosh, I understand this now and I understand what I need to do. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So speaking of light bulbs, we're getting the signal.
We are. We're getting the signal. Time is done again.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to us about coaching. You're into it and you're in deep, way deeper than I am. I'm just kind of starting and getting going with my coaching practice and what I've got going on. So I have a lot to learn from you and just really appreciate you sharing all that you are.
I think we did a great job together here helping our viewers sort through and maybe bring more clarity or to redirect some misperceptions as well.
Absolutely. So hopefully, as you guys have watched, you've really kind of understand more about coaching, and if it's something that's calling to you, that you'll go look up the right one to call to get with. So.
All right.
All right. With that, I think we're going to close it down. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.